Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Thank you so much for joining me. This is David Cattingham, giving you episode 347 of Inside the Force. And I don't feel like it's going to be all that much long on this one. Again, going solo. We'll see what happens. There's not a lot of news out there, but two big things that I will be talking about, mainly chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett, which dropped this past Wednesday. And then a continuing kind of what I did last week, which was looking back at 2021. This episode, we're going to look ahead to 2022, all the things that we know is coming this year, and definitely the things that I'm looking forward to the most, which if you've listened to the show in the past, you know, probably the top 2 or 3 that I'm highly anticipating this year. So, but again, thanks for joining me. InsideTheForce.com. I'm actually in the middle of trying to get a new website going. But of course, you can listen to the show on any podcast feed that's out there. Greatly appreciate it if you check us out on YouTube, where we got videos of all of our conversations on there and topics broken down into different playlists. We got Inside the Force that is weekly. And then, of course, we've got council sessions and Beyond the Saga, Master of the Order, and a new show that we're getting ready to start called Dark Knowledge. Corey and I are going to be deep diving into the dark side of things that we normally don't do, unlike the other shows. So that will be premiering here very shortly. I think I just got I mentioned on the other show that I've been working on the animation from the beginning. And my buddy Dave Silvernail just finished it up, I think. So kind of finalizing that. And then we will get a show out for that. But then, of course, keep listening to the Mandalore podcast. That drops pretty much every Mondays. We are deep diving into the Book of Boba Fett on that show. That's with I'm the co-host on that one. That's Cyber Ren's podcast over there, Martin Donison. So go check that out, the Mandalore podcast. All right. So now I got all that out of the way. There's only really one set of news that I want to talk about, and that's the announcement that just came, I think it was yesterday, from Lucasfilm. Yes, a couple days ago. Basically, the headline is Electronic Arts, EA, for those of you that are gamers, and Lucasfilm Games announced new Star Wars titles in development from Respawn Entertainment. Respawn was the game that, or the studio that created Jedi Fallen Order. Probably the best, I would say, the best game that's been out since this whole new canon started. But not only did they announce that new Star Wars titles are coming, but they basically announced the 3 types of games that are in development right now. So this is what's interesting. For one, they announced that they have a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order in the works. Fantastic news. Been waiting for that. I've always said that I feel like, you know, I've played a lot of the Assassin's Creed games, and I feel like it's very similar to that as far as gameplay and story driven. And you could see the amount of Assassin's Creed games they put out on a regular basis. I feel like there's one every year, if not a couple a year. That's what I want in Star Wars games. I wish they would just do that. Hopefully, now that Lucasfilm Games has been organized and created, I think we may see a more active release schedule for games. And I just hope that's the case, because I really want to get into some Star Wars games. Jedi Fallen Order was fantastic. The sequel to that just makes sense. So the other 2 that they mentioned, which is pretty interesting. One, they say, is a strategy game. And not much more than beyond that is just a strategy game. So I was trying to think, and I was going to look up, like, what do they consider a strategy game? I don't know if that means it's something this strictly first person, or maybe it's third person as well. But going around solving a bunch. I mean, I feel like Jedi Fallen Order was a strategy game as well, because you did have to think about things and figure things out. But strategy might be, more like the Command and Conquer type games, possibly. I don't know, where you kind of build your force up and then attack the enemy. Maybe, I don't know. That's probably not right, but strategy games in the works. And then the other one is a first person shooter game, which EA has put out a couple already, obviously with Battlefront, if you want to talk about first person shooters. So that's interesting. Hopefully it's a more story driven, campaign oriented. That's where my mind is, and that's kind of what I like to play. I'm not really a big online gamer anymore like it used to be, but that would be cool. First person shooter, I like those. Again, as long as those stories are out, stories are there, that would be a good thing. So anyway, all of these are in development at Respawn right now through Lucasfilm Games and EA. Definitely no announcement on when we would see any of this stuff. I mean, this kind of announcement, I would definitely think that nothing's going to come out this year. It's going to be 2023 at the earliest. So that's definitely unfortunate. I know we're getting a lot of content, which I'll talk about later this year, but man, I really like some games, especially, I'm into the VR stuff. Talked about it on here. I've done all the Vader Immortal games, the 3 episodes I had on that. And then I've played the Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. I mean, all of those things are pretty cool. They're not very long. You can pretty much get through it all for spending 30 minutes for a couple nights. But they're fun. It's very, very fun. And the replayability of it's really cool. Just going in there and exploring and looking around. And at some point, these graphics are going to get so realistic, it's going to be scary. Because right now you can, there's some images that are obviously really realistic, but they're still not quite there yet. So with VR, but it's going to get to a point to where it's going to be as real as reality. It's going to be scary, but cool, but scary. So, okay. So that's the big news. Now I did want to kind of tie this into, some of you have probably heard the old game. I say old, but back in 2000, I want to say it was 2012 or 13 or something like that. The game that got canceled. Yeah, I think it was 2000. Actually, I think it was maybe 2010, 2011. There's a game called 1313 that got canceled. Right after, or actually, I think it was right before the Lucasfilm buyout, the Disney purchase. It was a game that was basically almost kind of open world, but just really big and vast and exciting. I mean, I remember being at Celebration and they showed the first footage gameplay, the first couple minutes of it. And man, it blew everybody away. And then you find out that shortly after that, they actually made Boba Fett the protagonist in this thing. So you were going to be Boba Fett during this game in 1313. So, of course, everybody started freaking out. It was going to be just an incredible thing. But again, the development stalled. I think Lucasfilm sold very shortly after that. Development lasted, 4 or 5 years and just couldn't get it done, which is very, very unfortunate. But anyway, a lot of the things that, excuse me, a lot of the things that came from that, it seems like they used a lot of the artwork and a lot of the visual templates that were in the game for numerous projects that came after, obviously. So, you look back at the images that you can get online and look at this. There's a lot of people talking about right now, because I think some new footage kind of surfaced recently, but Boba Fett, the look of Boba Fett pretty much resembles the look of the Mandalorian in the show. Some of the artwork that was done for level 1313 on Coruscant ended up being used and duplicated for Star Wars: The Clone Wars season 7 when Ahsoka ascends down to 1313. So we just would have gotten a pretty incredible game, I think. But they were able to still use some of those elements. So maybe some of these games that are coming out, maybe it's breaking right now because some of the stuff will play into it. Maybe the first-person shooter takes place on Coruscant. Maybe they're kind of. I never understood why they were so far into that game that they didn't, finish it or revamp it. And tried to get some of that money back, because 4 or 5 years of development and nothing comes out of it, and yet so many people working on that thing. So I don't know. I wish they would have finished it. I wish they would have. It's probably too late now. Hell, it's almost been 10 years at least. So we're definitely not going to see that game, but hopefully something like that does come out, because it was very, very impressive the way it looked. I think you could probably even get on YouTube and look up 1313 and that clip that I watched at Celebration. I think that's up there. So go check that out, because it's really, really incredible. And I hope they come out with something just as good as that, which it will be better now, being so many years after. But okay. So there's that on the gaming news. That's all that's out there. So let me talk about chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. Now, it's funny that it's the Book of Boba Fett, but I'm going to sit here and talk mainly about Din Djarin and the Mandalorian. He makes his return. This episode is called, this chapter anyway, chapter 5, it's called Return of the Mandalorian. Now, gosh, I hope everybody's seen it. But so I don't want to spoil too much, but man, this was an episode of the Book of Boba Fett, and Boba Fett is nowhere to be found in this episode. This is a long episode. I think it was 48 minutes. So all this time, we're getting basically the story of where the Mandalorian is after season 2. So obviously Grogu's not with him. He's still out there collecting bounties, but he's searching also for, the Mandalorians that had to scatter after that battle on Navarro from season 1 of The Mandalorian. So he finally catches up with them, Paz Vizsla and the Armorer, and is able to join that clan again and start growing that clan that they have there. So, but of course, circumstances happen, and he finds his way back to Tatooine. So this is what is a little different too, because Fennec on the last episode was like, we got to go find the muscle, and that she didn't have to go very far because Mando came to her, but he had some things going on Tatooine, and he goes back to and her name escapes me now, the hangar chick, and I can't believe I forgot her name, but she has an N1 starfighter. Now, if you guys don't remember what the N1 starfighter is, it was the yellow starship that Anakin ended up accidentally getting into and getting launched into space during the Battle of Naboo. It's basically starfighters of the Naboo Starfleet. And it's a super fast craft, and she's got one for Mando, but they got to fix it up. So they spend most of the episode fixing that up. But man, he is flying in that thing. I thought that was really cool. And then, of course, we see throwbacks to episode 1, the pod racing course, Beggar's Canyon. You know, you can tell this was written again by a Star Wars fan, that the whole thing was written by Favreau. So that was pretty neat. Overall, I mean, I'm telling you, this was an incredible episode. You know, I'm seeing posts on Twitter saying this was the best episode and Boba Fett wasn't even in it. And it's true. Probably is the best episode of the season. But it's just strange because it's basically season 1 of, or I'm sorry, it's basically episode 1 of season 3 of Mandalorian. This is the episode I thought we would get for that. But you know, there is some cross characters going on here, obviously, because you know Fennec does show up, offers Din a job to help. Of course, he's going to. So you know, we do get that connectivity there. It just happened at the very end, which I thought would happen maybe towards the middle, but you know, it makes you wonder, because it does make me wonder in a way. You know, maybe they will end up doing this. Right now, doesn't seem like they're going to, but especially with shows like Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian that are connected, you know, because like Obi-Wan, of course they're in the same canon, but they're not necessarily going to be connected in a sense that, you know, the consequences of this character going into this show and happening at the same time. It's actually not happening at the same timeline. So, but shows like Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, which seem like to be the 3 that are going to be taking place at the same time with the same characters. You know, it'd be cool to get those shows running together, right? Because you can literally do crossovers very similar to, you know, what the DC universe does right now, where they've got maybe not so much right now, but back a few years ago when they had Arrow and The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, they would, you know, occasionally have a character kind of cross over and pop up and get involved. That would actually, I think fans would go crazy for that. If, you know, you had, you know, episode of Book of Boba Fett on Wednesday, and then Fennec leaves and shows up on The Mandalorian on Friday, you know, and helps him do stuff. I mean, that would be pretty cool to see some crossover. I think, you know, there's some other shows that were doing it. You know, I was watching Hawaii Five-0 when it was on. It was a CBS show. I know everybody's heard of Hawaii Five-0. Hopefully this is the newer one. But they also, CBS started producing a new version of Magnum PI, and they all take place on the same island of Hawaii, and they had crossovers. You know, they acknowledged each other. I think that was pretty neat, and that would be pretty neat for Disney Plus to do that with Star Wars shows. I think if you again had shows that were happening in the same timeline with similar characters or the same characters, it'd be really neat to see those running at the same time instead of having to, again, wait till probably the end of this year to get season 3 of The Mandalorian. And it's a long time, and this just hypes it up for us, you know? So I thought that was really neat how they did it. It was just strange that it took the entire episode, because when you think of, you know, Boba Fett showing up in The Mandalorian in season 2, directed by Rodriguez, you know, he was in it a lot, but the story of Grogu and Mandalorian was still there, and it still kind of drove that forward. This, again, didn't have any Boba Fett, didn't have a mention of him to the end. So the whole episode was really about the Mandalorian. So it was just, I don't know. It was just strange, but again, the best episode. It was really, really good. Learned a lot. I mean, he talked about the Darksaber. He talked about Bo-Katan. We learned more about Mandalorian. We saw the flashback of it, which was incredible. We saw the Night of 1,000 Tears. So we just got a lot of information in this. So much so that I was telling somebody today that you really had to watch The Mandalorian to really get this episode. If you just started watching the Book of Boba Fett and had not seen at all any of The Mandalorian, I feel like you'd be pretty lost in this because, again, it diverts so much away from, or completely away from, the Book of Boba Fett storyline that I think someone that wasn't familiar with The Mandalorian would be like, who is this guy? What is this guy doing? Who is Grogu? Obviously you probably know who Grogu is because of the merchandise, but you just, there's a lot of questions to ask if you had not seen that show. So they are definitely targeting the people that are in the Star Wars enough to know or see The Mandalorian that they're going to get this entire episode. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Again, to catch up with Mando, I feel like you probably could have done it within the first 15, 20 minutes and then connect it back to Boba Fett, but that's not what they want to do, and I'm not in charge of it. So, that was just, I felt like the whole time I was watching it the first time, I was just waiting for when Boba Fett was going to show up and offer him a job or do something together in this episode. It's just, again, weird, but the best episode by far. So again, go check that out. Chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett's on Disney Plus right now. Of course, me and Martin Donison, Cyber Ren, will be deep diving into this chapter this weekend, and look for that on Monday on the Mandalore podcast. So, all right. So that's all I'll say about that. Anyway. Oh, last thing I will say. Directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. Fantastic. A lot of the tweets I'm seeing out there is give this woman a Star Wars movie, and I wholeheartedly agree. She really stepped up her game. And, the thing about it is sometimes, how do I say this? Sometimes the content is so, the writing or the script itself or the actors. Sometimes all that stuff is so good, you don't need to really do much directing. But I think she did a lot of this. A lot of this has to fall on her. So great episode by Bryce Dallas Howard. Okay. Here's some announcements just on the novels and the comics, obviously release dates. High Republic on the novel side has their book called Midnight Horizon, which comes out next week, February 1st, actually, on Tuesday. Queen's Hope will hit shelves on April 5th. Brotherhood, which stars newly knighted Anakin and his master Obi-Wan, on May 10th. Shadow of the Sith with Luke Skywalker is June 28th. And then on July 26th, you've got Padawan, and Padawan references Obi-Wan as a Padawan. So novels coming out so far this year, right there. Comics. So going into February, we got Crimson Reign #2, February 2nd. The Halcyon Legacy #1. Now, this is the Galactic Starcruiser, which I'll be talking a little bit about here soon. But that comes out #1, little 5-issue series that talks about that history. I'm looking forward to that. That looks pretty cool. You've got the High Republic #14 as well on February 2nd. And then February 9th, you got Vader 20, the High Republic Trail of Shadows #5. On the 16th, you got the High Republic Eye of the Storm #2. On the 23rd, you got High Republic #15. March 2nd, Star Wars 21. March 9th, Halcyon Legacy number 2. And then Han Solo and Chewbacca number 1 drops March 9th. So there's some preview of novels and comics. Also on that Halcyon Legacy comic, they've got StarWars.com has got a excerpt on that on the first issue. So go check that out. It was actually pretty neat. Okay. Let's talk about what's coming out in 2022. Looking ahead, let's talk about the shows first. Now, we talked about that a lot on this show, but just to talk about what has been technically confirmed. I don't think it's been fully confirmed because we don't have release dates, but I think it's safe to say the shows that we know for sure that are coming in 2022 are, well, the Book of Boba Fett started last year, but that's finishing in 2022. So the Book of Boba Fett, we got Bad Batch season 2 coming. We got Obi-Wan Kenobi's series coming, and we got Andor coming. Mandalorian season 3, I would say, is actually a possibility, not necessarily a guarantee. I think if it comes, it'll come like Boba Fett towards the end of December. But I do think it'll drop early. The first episodes will drop in late 2022, early 2023. And then outside of those shows, because I think those are the only shows we're getting, Star Wars related, you got the Galactic Starcruiser, which I just mentioned that the Halcyon comic is about. The ship is called the Halcyon, and you board that, and am I losing focus here? Maybe, I don't know. It tells the stories throughout the ages of the Halcyon, right? So I think some of the story takes place in the High Republic, and you got some that's starting the Clone Wars, and you got some that's starting the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. So that's pretty cool. The Galactic Starcruiser. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that this year. I'm trying, but we'll see what happens. Kind of got to find the right group of guys to go. So that would be fun. In the publishing world, you got High Republic Phase 2 starting here. Basically, it started in January with Wave 3, but Phase 2. So all the books and the comics I mentioned, all that's coming in 2022. Then, of course, you've got the regular ongoing series that's happening right now with Vader, Star Wars, Bounty Hunters, and Dr. Aphra. All those are continuing. You've got Crimson Reign. You got that trilogy we talked about with Charles Soule that's happening this year. Crimson Reign is the middle trilogy. Then you got Hidden Empire that's starting this summer. So, and you got a lot of little one shots, not one shots, but miniseries that are coming out, like Han Solo and Chewbacca. Eye of the Storm is finishing up here in a couple of issues. So that it's a lot of publishing going on this year. Of course, then Dark Horse Comics is going to start producing books starting in March. So definitely look for those titles. I feel like IDW is going to not be doing that anymore. But that, I don't know if that's really been announced. So it's possible Dark Horse and IDW could be, publishing Star Wars comics, but I don't know if that's true or not. So we'll have to see about that. So let's see what else we got going on. Lego Star Wars, talking about games, Lego Star Wars, the Skywar Saga, I mentioned that last week. It is finally has a release date. That is coming out. When is that coming out? Actually, did I mention it on this show? Actually, I don't think I did because, I don't. Oh, yeah, it did. Lego Star Wars last up. April 5th, I think, is what the release date for that is. Finally getting that game. It's been talking about for 2 years now, I think. They've been working on it even before that, but I think it's been talked about being released for like 2 years. Looking forward to that. Okay, and then all in all, I guess probably technically one of the most important things that's happening this year, Star Wars Celebration. It got canceled in 2020 and then moved to 2021, but then got moved. Actually, I think it got moved to 2022, and then it got moved up sooner in 2022. It's supposed to come out in August now. It comes out in May 26th to 29th in Anaheim, California. So I anticipate a lot of stuff coming out in Celebration, a lot of announcements, particularly probably more film announcements, like when is the next Star Wars movie coming out, who's doing it, stuff like that. It's Patty Jenkins really going to be finishing Rogue Squadron. Has Taika Waititi started his movie? Are there any secret productions going on like apparently there's rumors of? So I think Star Wars Celebration will answer a lot of those questions. And if we don't get a schedule before then of the Disney Plus shows, I think we'll get it definitely then. So that's going to be fun. And gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that either. I've been to every Star Wars Celebration since Star Wars Celebration 3, which happened in 2005. It's kind of my thing now, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this one. This is going to be tough. I am taking a trip out in June to Disneyland, so I will be out that way, but I don't think I just don't know if I'm going to be able to make Star Wars Celebration because, for one, they haven't released tickets for people yet, at least people that don't have tickets from the previous one. When the other celebration got canceled, you had your option of keeping your tickets or selling them back. I actually didn't buy my tickets for then either, so now I don't have any anyway. So it's a wonder if they're going to even release based on restrictions that are going on out there as far as masks and gatherings and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Star Wars Celebration in May. But, I just checked their site just tonight and nothing. There's just nothing new about any announcements or anything about Star Wars Celebration. So, which is kind of weird. It's very strange. Only 4 months away. And it's very strange. Okay. So that's all the relevant, I feel like, stuff that we know and that everybody's talking about. I'll just give you my top 3 out of all those things. I mean, I would say, it's funny. Star Wars Celebration is just incredible. Man, it's such a great time, especially if you can go there with other Star Wars fans, friends of yours. Of course, the whole place is Star Wars fans. So, genuinely unique and fun and happy Star Wars fans. Everybody there loves it. And that, I think, probably be number 3 on my list. Number 2 is probably, what's funny, the Galactic Starcruiser. Like, I really want to try that out. That is number 2 on my list of looking forward to. So I obviously, if I don't get to do it, that's one thing. But I really want to try to experience that. I think that'll be it's just a unique opportunity. So I want to try that. But number 1 still is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, I cannot wait for that Disney Plus series. Ever since episode 3, I wanted more Obi-Wan. And I've been wondering what he's been up to. So this will give us something, at least, of what happens between episodes 3 and 4. That is going to be incredible. I mean, of course, getting Ewan back and getting Hayden back is just spectacular. So by far, I'm going to be watching and rewatching Obi-Wan Kenobi as soon as that comes out. Gosh, I can't wait for that. I'm pretty weird that I didn't do all shows first 3 because I wanted to kind of mix it up also. But that's honestly, if I could pick 3 from the list of things that I just said, I would do that. I would say I need Obi-Wan, I need to experience the Galactic Starcruiser, and I need to go to Star Wars Celebration. Those are the things I want to do in 2022. So, all right. That's really it. Like I said before, going to be on the Mandalore podcast this weekend, talking about Chapter 5 more in depth with Martin. I mean, he was pretty excited with the episode also too. So we got a lot to talk about there. Of course, go to youtube.com/Inside the Force to subscribe there and get all of these videos, these different topics and playlists on there. But of course, if you're just a listener, thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can go to subscribe any podcast platform that's out there. We're on there. Just search Inside the Force. And for anybody out there, if you can leave us any comments, thumbs ups, high stars, whatever, that would be great. And I probably should say this more, but I guess if you guys want to leave me any feedback or send me any kind of questions or comments or anything, you can email me at mail at insidetheforce.com. Send it there. Some of you have found it on the website, but it is on the website. Yeah. If you can't, comment on anything else, just feel like shooting me a note. That would be fantastic. Thank you, everybody, once again for listening and hanging with me. Let me know what you're looking forward to most in 2022. I'd be curious to know if any of those that I said are on your list, or if you're just looking for these Disney Plus shows, which is cool too. But a lot of content coming this year, which is going to be fantastic. The only thing we're lacking is a movie. Man, I want another Star Wars movie so bad. So hopefully we get that announcement. Hopefully we get something coming from there in the next year or two. I think the December 23rd date is still on the books. So we'll see if anything comes there. Oh, last thing I almost forgot. I want to mention that we did this once. I think it started last year, but we were part of what's called Star Wars Podcast Day. So Star Wars Podcast Day is February 7th. And that is the day, apparently, I think the first Star Wars podcast, the first episode that debuted was 1999, I believe it was, February 7th, 1999. So Star Wars Pod Day, which is a Twitter account at Star Wars Pod Day. We're mentioning that on February 7th, you'll get an Inside the Force episode on February 7th, talking about, whatever topics we're going to have that day. But we're going to put out an episode on Podcast Day to kind of join all the other ones that are participating. Got to talk to Martin about that. See if, our episode will be coming out because it's a Monday. February 7th is a Monday. So our episode will normally be out that day anyway, but so we'll participate on both of those shows. And it's really just, a collection of shows coming out on the same day. Not sure what I'm going to talk about yet, but I'll probably do something unique to that. But I'll put out a show end of next week, and then this will be an extra one that comes out that Monday. So Star Wars Podcast Day. Look for a ton of episodes from a lot of different Star Wars podcasts that day. So, all right. That's it. Have a great weekend, everybody. For all you Bengals fans out there, Hoo-day, because we are in the AFC Championship on Sunday. I cannot wait. I'm like shaking already. I cannot wait for that. But anyway, yeah, I'm rooting for my Bengals this weekend. Take care. See you next week. May the Force be with you.